All right, we now welcome on to the podcast very special guest, Chet Garner, the day tripper.
Howdy, ladies and gentlemen. How are y'all?
Do people walk up to you and say, "Are you the day tripper?" Like they don't even know your name?
Oh yeah, no. People don't know my name, and they often get it wrong. You're the road tripper man. You're a day tripper dude. You're a tripper guy. And then we used to brand it the day tripper with Chet Garner. I think we've eventually just dropped the Chet Garner. It's just day tripper, and so people just don't know. Texas guy. Hey man, barbecue dude. Whatever.
You're the guy that goes everywhere.
I just
like,
answered
so
all
vague.
of it. Yeah. I just answered all of it. Sure.
Yeah. Where have you been recently?
Man.
Where were you last week?
Okay, last week a little different, so like my niche is traveling Texas, but last week I got to go to the SEMA Auto Show in Las Vegas.
Oh, I saw that.
That was nuts.
Yeah, that
was
looked
nuts.
awesome.
I'm sure there's a lot of yee folks who appreciate SEMA.
Mm-hmm.
It was, y'all know about SEMA?
No.
Okay, largest auto show in America,
Oh, wow.
I'm told. It was all three buildings of the Las Vegas Convention Center filled with Jeeps and trucks and Broncos. Every truck accessory manufacturer on the planet is there. I saw more custom paint Lamborghinis than I will ever again in my life. And you see the first one, you're like, oh, cool. You take about 27 pictures. By the end of the day, you're seeing rows of 50 of them. You're like, all right, whatever.
Yeah, it's like I need a new storage on my phone.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So explain. This is gonna be one of those funny episodes because I would say that our biggest demographic is Texans, but then we have listeners everywhere.
Sure.
And it's this funny thing that we all know as Texans, born and raised here, besides Ben, who's off camera, that
Sorry, Ben.
sucks to suck. That there's this weird thing about Texas where we love Texas more than anything. Like we believe that it is the best state ever. It's the best country ever. All these different things. So explain what the day tripper is, because this is going to be very interesting to some of our out-of-state fans who maybe don't have as much state pride.
Man, yeah. Like people, one of the most common questions I get is, "Have you run out of towns yet?" And I'm like, "Man, you don't know Texas. I will never run out of towns. Like it won't happen. We're going to a place tomorrow called Paint Rock, Texas, that most people have never even heard of." And we're going to pull a whole show out of it,
Wow.
So the idea in the beginning was, let's make a Texas travel show that is as good of quality as like anything you'd see on cable or whatever, but just about Texas, right? Because Texans need more pride, to your point.
Yeah.
But what I found was a lot of people, Texans, will puff up their chest and get super proud of our state. And you start to dig a little bit and it's just, well, we're awesome because we're awesome, and like, oh, the Alamo, yeah. It's like, we lost that one, man. All right, but San Sino, whatever, like barbecue and stuff. It's like, yes, all that stuff is true. We have 1,000 reasons to be proud of the state of Texas, but we have so much more that's just behind that kind of puff your chest up. And I was like, man, the people, the food, the culture, the stories, yes, we were our own country. But even before that, San Antonio's 300 years old. It's as old as New Orleans. It's so when you start to combine it all together, I was like, man, I don't think Texans know enough about their own state. And I would go, at this point, I was working downtown Austin as an attorney. That's a whole nother previous life. And would come back and want to talk to my fellow coworkers as, hey man, have you heard of this? I went here this week and I went here, and most people didn't have any clue of the places I was talking about. And I was like, man, I want to make a TV show all about Texas. And so the idea is you parachute into a town, and it's everything you can eat, see, and do if you were in that town for a day. Well, not everything. It's only 30 minutes,
Right.
but a couple restaurants, a museum, some outdoor stuff, something crazy, some weird Wild West story. And the idea is that we motivate people to get off their couch and follow in my footsteps. So everything I do on the show is something someone could do right after me, literally. And of course, when you're on TV, people will open all the doors you want them to.
Of course.
But we always are like, no. Listen, if Joe can't come and do this right after me, then I don't want to do it. I would love to do it. Sounds awesome, but can't do it. So the show is in 13 seasons.
Wow.
We're on PBS.
Wow.
We've done for 12 years. We've been traveling Texas, but it's interesting. They're like, as much as people outside the state either love or hate Texas, And some of them may claim to hate it, but our show is on nationwide on PBS. So people all over the country are watching a show that's nothing about a guy who travels Texas, and they seem to like it. So
what state do you know off the top of your head has the best ratings besides Texas?
we do really well in Phoenix,
Really?
and in North Carolina.
Huh.
Interesting. I think it, for some reason, there's a lot of displaced Texans in both of those spots. And so I think it's like nostalgic Texans who want to like, oh man, I miss barbecue so much. We get notes all the time. Man, I just miss Texas barbecue. I used to live there, whatever. So people, I mean, it's a pretty broad base. We get weird emails from people in Alaska. I'm coming to Texas because your show.
Because of your show.
Yeah. But here's the funniest, they're like, we're coming to Texas. We're going to be there for 4 days. I'm going to go. And they don't talk like this, but they're from Alaska. Give me your best Alaskan accent. I don't got one. We're coming to Texas for 4 days. We want to go to Big Bend. We want to see the Alamo. No. We're going to go to Dallas. We're going to see an Astros game. Settle down. Settle down unless you got a private plane.
Yeah, Big Bend is like 6 days in itself. I mean, it's a day to get out there, a day to get back, and then you need to at least spend some time out there.
You have to, the places like Big Bend, man, when you go, you've got to schedule in the time to decompress.
Yeah.
If you go out there for a single day and bounce back, you just you don't get it. So you got to like go out there and you got to have a day, like travel day, and then another day where your clock is doing nothing but adjust to the Wild West. And then your heart rate slows down. You start to breathe a little deeper because the air's so clean. Yeah. You sleep better because the stars are out. And then you wake up day 2. You're like, okay, I get it.
Mm-hmm. Were you the one who was telling me that Big Bend had that, like there was like kidnappings going on there?
No.
Some weird stuff?
Well, I'm sure there's that. But Big Bend, I got deep in a Reddit subthread one time about camping, and it was about how.
Don't do that, man. That's like checking Mayo Clinic for your symptoms, man. You don't go to the internet for that. You don't get on kidnapping threads on Reddit.
Earmuffs for the listeners at home. If you're scared of ghosts, there were a lot of like ghost stories about camping in Big Bend.
Ooh.
And granted, this was like backpacking, not car camping, not at a site, nothing like that. This is like if you're backpacking out there. But yeah, there were a lot of stories, and I don't know what I believe in when it comes to that stuff, but I've been to Big Bend before, and it is like if something was gonna happen, it's there.
Dude, we've camped in the backcountry, and you're out there. I've never been by myself in the backcountry, but you're out there with your buddies, and you're like, there literally, if something did happen, nobody would be here to help us. No one would hear us scream.
Nothing.
Nothing. It would just, we would disappear, and there's a million places to hide a body. It's like it'll get if you get in your own head, much less a Reddit subthread.
Speaking of which, we're going way off onto a tangent, but there is a documentary which is also a book called The Missing 411, and it's this former police officer. I think I was telling you about this. This police officer. And he's not crazy. This sounds like something that could be crazy, but he started following people that. So if you are an adult and you go missing in a national forest, no one looks for you. Like people don't look for adults. Adults just think that they fell off of a cliff or something and they died. And like whenever this most recent girl passed away, they ended up finding like a few bodies because they just were actually looking for the first time ever. This happens often. So this guy only follows stories that check like 6 boxes, and animals can't be a part of it. Like there can't be any sign of fighting, so like a bear didn't attack you.
Okay.
And it's basically all of them were hunters. It's all these hunters that have disappeared, and all of them have known the area very well, like a father-son that both disappeared and have been hunting this land for 20 years. Like just crazy stories. One of the best documentaries I've ever watched. And he never really says what he thinks he is. He doesn't say if he thinks it's ghosts, if it's
Bigfoot,
a Bigfoot, or like whatever. He kind of leaves that open-ended. But it was a great documentary.
Yeah, basically the idea was like these guys are experienced and their cause of death was not like confirmed or caused by like a wild animal, or it was like something where they just went missing when no one would have expected them to
and
go
like
missing.
no one found them.
Nobody,
nothing.
Just vanished into thin air.
Right.
That's freaky.
Yeah,
That's freaky.
yes.
Well, I mean, I know it's past Halloween, but I've got plenty of ghost stories from the road, and I'm kind of like you. I don't know how I feel about that stuff, but there's been some. We go to enough like old historic places that it's happened.
Scary, most not scariest, but like just eerie. Does something jump out? Like most eerie town or place that you've ever been?
I mean, Okay, there is two things. One was in Seguin, Texas, which is east of San Antonio.
Is there a hotel there?
There's a hotel there. And so we go and make our video about it. And anytime we do ghost stories in the video, we kind of do it with a tinge of like, ooh, put the flashlight under our chin and kind of dance around, like kind of treat it with a bit of like, with a seriousness, but not that much.
Right.
It's kind of it's like a campfire story, and like it's meant to scare you, but something's gonna jump out, and it was all pretend. But we go through this place with the owner who lives there, and things started to happen, like weird stuff. And you either go, okay, you've set all this up and you're a total liar, and you're just, or, and she would say, like, I didn't do anything. It's like, okay, well, I kind of believe you because you're nice and I have no reason that you would have lied to us. So how do I explain all this other stuff? So, like, she turns on a little mag light, puts it on the ground, and then asks the spirit to turn it off, and it turns off. And then she asks it to turn it back on. It turns back on. And then she's like, okay, upstairs, this hotel room was owned by a madam and who really likes boys. So the fact there's a bunch of boys up here, you might smell some perfume. It's not there any other time except when I bring boys up here. And you go up there and it is thick like perfume. And it was like, okay, you either just unloaded a whole can of Febreze up here or something happened. She goes, I promise I did not. And then this is kind of a longer story, but the freakiest thing was she's like, people have spirits that follow them around. I was like, what are you talking about? I'm like, she goes, yeah, people have stuff. She goes, you do? I was like, she goes, do you want me to tell you or does that freak you out? I was like, listen, just tell me whatever you want to tell me and I'll deal with it. And she's like, yeah, you got two old ladies who are kind of following you around, keeping watch on you.
Shit,
like, what?
You dog.
I know,
you dog.
old ladies. Oh, yeah. She goes, but one of them's holding the bird. Do you know what that means? I'm like, she goes, they like the bird. They're telling me they like the bird. I was like, well, I mean, my daughter's name is Wren. It's a kind of bird. She's like, oh, that must be it. She's like, I was like, do they tell you weird stuff? She goes, no, they just kind of communicate with me. It was weird. I left super freaked out in it. The other thing was maybe a little more funny because my crew totally chickened out on me, but we were staying in a historic fort in San Angelo, Texas. Fort Concho. You can rent the old officers' quarters.
Oh, wow.
And we were going to be filming there late into the night, and so we had to book it. They couldn't have a guest there, so we had rented it for the night. It had downstairs bedrooms, upstairs bedrooms, and my crew is 5 people. And so we finished filming at about 11 p.m. because we had been doing all this stupid ghost stuff, like Chet is a ghost soldier walking around. Yeah. And I'm like, hey, guys, all right, filming's over. What rooms do y'all want? Like, which bedrooms? And they're like, dude, Chet, did you hear the story about the little dead girl that wanders around?
Oh, no.
Like, I'm like, this is our only chance to stay in a historic fort. Like, you'll never get another opportunity like this.
Yeah,
ever.
It's not just haunted, it's a fort.
It's an old
hotel.
fort.
Yeah.
And they're like, nope, Chet, we're back at the Best Western. Peace. I'm like, you punks. So I was like, well, fine, I'll stay here by myself, Worst decision ever.
Really?
Oh, man. I remember I turned every light on in that place, and I just laid in my bed listening to something happen. Like, it sounded like people were banging pots and pans in the kitchen, and I was the only person in there. And I was like, okay, all right. Yeah, I remember honestly having this conversation, like, okay, so I got to lock my door and like I'm gonna close the door, I'm gonna lock it, and just pretend like nothing's happening. It's like, wait, no, ghosts can go through the doors.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
It doesn't work. I gotta open it and so that I can get out as fast as I can. And then at that point, at like 3 a.m, I'm like, what am I doing? I've gone crazy. But like, I got no explanation for what was happening. It wasn't old pipes. It wasn't. I could tell when the AC kicked on and off. It wasn't that. I don't know. And so but to this day, like, do I believe in ghosts? Not really. I don't know. I kind of just throw up. There's mysteries in this world that we shall never figure out till we're out of it, right?
Yeah, exactly. I got a question for you.
That was some rabbit holes, man. Sorry, Hayden.
Yeah, well, we didn't plan on turning into a ghost podcast.
Yeah.
But here we are.
We can make that one. We're a month late on that one.
Well, yeah. Why don't we just make this one a ghost podcast and then we'll record again in 2 months and ask all the
rabbit holes around here.
Yeah.
I got a question. Your bio says no barbecue or swimming hole is safe, which is a great catchphrase. What's the best barbecue?
Dude.
In Texas? And I know you may not be able to answer this.
Oh,
no.
You
don't want to upset anybody.
All right. So I, asking a man his number one barbecue question is pretty personal.
It is.
We're getting,
It is.
we just met.
We just jumped in.
Yeah,
We're in the deep
going
end.
straight there. I've often joked that's something you whisper to your kids on your deathbed.
Yeah.
You don't, you keep that private. But I've eaten so much good barbecue. Did y'all see the new Texas Monthly list?
Yeah, I did.
They like threw out all the old ones and
I did.
like, the new guard.
And the number one was a place I still haven't been, but it's in the Fort Worth, Arlington area. It's I don't mean to age shame, but it's like 4 25-year-olds that started it, and it may be amazing.
It
but
started in 2020. Like it's less than a year old.
Don't you have to pay your dues a little bit?
That's what I think. It takes 5 years to season a pit.
Right.
But they seem to know what they're doing, and I'm speaking without having eaten it, and I'm good friends with the barbecue editor at Texas Monthly.
Okay.
But I say I don't have a top 1. I have like a top 5.
Okay.
But that quickly, if I start actually listing it out, it turns into like a top 10. And so before I know it, it's like, all right, whatever. I will say I eat the most Rudy's barbecue.
Okay.
Of all of them. I love
it's just everywhere.
Yeah, I love Rudy's barbecue. And Franklin's up there. Snow's barbecue's up there. Miller's and Belton, I think, is one of the absolute best.
Very underrated.
I love Miller's and Belton. And then you start to trace it down, like Pecan Lodge in Dallas is phenomenal. Yep. Before you know it, it's out of hand. Like Interstellar in Austin, Terry Black's in Austin. Who else was in my top ones? Oh, Bodacious Barbecue in Longview is good.
There.
Stanley's Barbecue in Tyler.
Stanley's. Yeah.
So like I said, I don't know, man.
And a lot of these pit masters came from a pit master at another place, and they learned under them and then went somewhere else. It happens quite a bit.
If you look at the family tree, what's really interesting, the family tree of barbecue in Texas is not as big as you think. Everybody, for the most part, was trained by somebody else. Well, nowadays, a lot of those new guys were trained by Aaron Franklin on the internet.
Right.
I mean,
the master class.
Yeah, because he gave it all away.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he regrets that decision or not.
I think about that too. I think about that a lot as well. I think that there's something to be told. It's like Barry Bonds can tell someone how to hit 750 home runs, besides doing steroids. But it's like you still have to go out there and do it. I know that that's an athlete thing, but I think that there's still a lot to be said about like. Yeah, I mean nowadays like Traeger's trying to make it easy too. Like Traeger can and Granger's done stuff with them. Great piece of equipment, but it's like anyone can do it. There's still something to be said for going out there and doing it at the level that like an Aaron Franklin has done it at.
Dude, I mean to make one brisket for your buddies on a Saturday and nail it, like that's one thing. To make 300 briskets a week, like that's another level.
Start at 2 a.m.
Yeah, right. I mean those guys. The ones that are doing it the hard way they're literally hauling themselves out of bed at 2 a.m. to go turn logs.
That's crazy.
I don't know why. Like I've eaten enough barbecue nowadays to know I don't ever want to open a barbecue restaurant.
Yeah.
So it's like that is the hardest, sweatiest, grueling work. And then you put it out there only to have internet trolls come and tell you how much you suck at it.
People are so judgmental about barbecue.
Dude, I don't think there's another food on the planet that people get more pissed off and angry about.
I think you're right.
Like it's tough. It's tough. And like Snow's Barbecue, the sweetest people ever. They got people now on Saturdays waiting their line for 3-4 hours. And what are the expectations like to meet for those people, right? They drove in from Italy. No, when we were in line, there were people from Italy who had flown in.
Because Lexington is like, even if you're from Austin, Lexington's a little bit of a drive.
Yeah.
You know?
So these people started waiting in line at 2 a.m. to eat barbecue, and you open at 8 a.m. And like their expectations are through the roof. So to be able to deliver on that constantly, and they do a phenomenal job. I mean, Snow's is legit. Tootsie Tomanets, the 86-year-old.
We watched the Yeti did an amazing short film. One of the best things I've ever seen filmed on her, and we loved it.
There's a chef's table now too on Netflix that's all about her.
I heard about that. I did
watch that, man. You'll start crying. It's beautiful.
She seems like
she's salt of the earth, man. She's wonderful. And so like it's tough, man. That's a hard place to be in.
Yeah.
And so like I give mad respect to all kinds of barbecue people. And nowadays, we've decided as a culture or whatever, there's one best way to cook barbecue. But dude, I was raised in Southeast Texas. Like if barbecue isn't covered in sauce, it sucks.
Yeah.
So I mean, and truthfully, I ate a lot of bad barbecue growing up, but I didn't know any better because it had so much sauce on it. But for those people down there, there's a certain way to cook barbecue. But the powers that be have decided that it's Aaron Franklin or nothing. And like, I mean, that kind of sucks. So you've got all these people who lived in the Panhandle. You had these traditions of barbecue in the Panhandle that were based on mesquite wood, right?
Yeah, right.
So because that was all the wood you had. I mean, traditionally you cooked what meat was left over, and you cooked on whatever wood source was available to you. And now, because we've said like, oh, the only way to do it is Texas post oak, these barbecue joints in the Panhandle are trucking in post oak from Lockhart and Luling, Texas,
all the way,
thousands of dollars a bundle of wood, so that they can make it. And I fear that in a little ways, these like local regionalized traditions are kind of dying, getting replaced by what we have dubbed the best way to cook barbecue, which sucks because you travel Texas 20 years ago, there were all these different styles, and it's kind of just getting a little bit homogenized because everybody's chasing the golden crown, man, you know?
And as a generation dies off, like an older pit master, like some of these are, it's like, what will a Snow's or one of those places look like eventually? Have you been to, I'm guessing you've been, have you been to Heim in Fort Worth?
Oh, no, I haven't.
Oh, you
haven't? I've heard it's awesome.
That's a really good one, and the people are just like good folks, and they just did a new location in Fort Worth that has like the best vibes ever, like sits around the river, and so that's cool. That's I spent some time in Fort Worth before here, so that's one of my favorite spots is Heim in Fort Worth.
Yeah. Has it gotten too hipster? I mean, barbecue's getting there.
It is, and I thought hipsters didn't eat meat, so I'm kind of confused.
Wait, what happened? Yeah,
they're evolving.
They're evolving. They're learning. So what's the best swimming hole?
Oh, dude,
in Texas,
my favorite swimming hole. This is another very academic debate. Like, do rivers count as swimming holes?
Yeah, right.
I think the best place to swim is the Rio Frio out in Lakey. Man, Garner State Park. Now I'm a little biased, Garner State Park.
Yeah, I'm from Uvalde.
See, there you go.
I grew up in Concan, spending my summers all over that place.
Dude, what a childhood.
Yeah, and so it was cool to see like all the tourists come in every summer and like the constant growth over the last 15 years.
Would you say it's totally different or kind of about the same?
It's about the same.
Yeah.
You see it grow in some areas, but really the size of Concan as the town really hasn't.
Sure.
It has nowhere to really grow.
That's true. We went every summer to Garner and ate at Neil's Lodge and did all the things. The Nueces, though.
The Nueces, and then I think the Sabinal River is also through there.
Yep.
Did the dances at the Garner
State
Park.
That's where I learned a two-step.
Oh, me too.
Well, for sure. So the Garner State Park, let me ask you this. Are you related to a former United States vice president?
All right. There's a longer story with that, but yeah, kind of.
Okay.
Now, I grew up like, you're related. Okay, John Nance Garner, for those that don't know, he was the vice president under FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, for a couple of FDR's terms. And I grew up, was told my whole life that we were related to him.
Oh no!
You carry on the tradition, and like you're gonna dress up like him for Halloween, or like anytime there was a Texas History Day or whatever. Like, I'm John Nance Garner. Anyway, along comes Ancestry.com, and I'm looking back. I'm like, yeah, Mom, about that. Like, I don't see him. Oh, he's there somewhere. I'm sure you're just not clicking the right buttons. Nah, Mom, I'm pretty sure he's not there. Anyway, I was determined to figure it out. And, like, they were like, oh, yeah, he's like your cousin, like, or uncle or whatever. I mean, he died in the 60s or, he was vice president in the 40s.
Yeah, right.
And so, anyway, I think I figured it out, but you got to go like all the way back to England and then all the way forward before it's there. But it's there, which is probably like anybody named Garner. That's probably true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's funny.
James Garner, the actor. Yeah, of course I am.
John Nance, I believe, is from Uvalde.
He is. That's your hood.
The John Nance Garner Museum. One of my good friends grew up in the house right next door to that museum.
That's a beautiful house. And Matthew McConaughey,
another Uvalde boy.
And now you. That's like a triple Ryan. Triple
threat. They're going to do like a Mount Rushmore of Uvalde, and it's just going to be y'all.
I don't think I'm in that company.
Hey, man. You will be.
Yes.
After this episode.
What is the best state not named Texas?
Ooh, dude. I'm gonna say it's a former Texas known as Colorado.
Okay. Yeah.
Have you ever seen that map, Ski Texas?
No.
Oh man, somebody on the internet did it. But if you take the 1845 map of Texas,
Right.
and you lay it on top of the current United States, we have all the good ski resorts.
We
All
do.
of them. Oh yeah, all of them. So that's probably my next show. I'm just gonna go back to 1845 Texas.
Yeah.
And you can get, all the ones in New Mexico, all the good ones in Colorado, and then it even goes up to Wyoming.
Yeah.
And so it's this hilarious map, Ski Texas, with all this great Texan ski resorts.
When the United States did the Louisiana Purchase, they're like, yeah, so this is just gonna jut out here, and we're gonna take this little chunk of land. They're like, what? Wait, why? Like, don't worry about it. We're gonna create a ski resort right there.
Right?
Yeah, I love Colorado.
Colorado's my favorite, man, because it's I like traveling to big cities, but I need them in doses.
Yeah.
What I need more of in my life is like mountains and backwoods type adventure. And we've got beautiful mountains in Texas. I mean, if you go to the Davis Mountains, get to the top of it, the Chisos Mountains, and get to the top of it. But, credit where credit's due, they're not the Rocky Mountains.
Right.
And so that to me is Colorado.
I feel like that's almost an unpopular opinion these days, with Colorado being so popular and that's kind of a paradox that I said that, but I feel like a lot of people are like, Colorado is just so crowded now that I'd rather go to like the Utahs or the New Mexicos or the Wyomings or Montanas from shows like Yellowstone.
Oh,
so I'm
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
surprised to hear you say Colorado, but I think that it still has a lot of, like, it is the OG like mountains in the United States, I feel like.
For sure. Yeah, I've skied. Utah's beautiful. I've never been to like the southern Utah national parks. That's next on my list. Yeah. But man, Texas beaches to me are awesome. And I don't feel the need to go to Florida or California and freezing water with great white sharks. Like, Texas beaches are right in my lane. I love Texas beaches. I prefer them over Florida beaches, actually. They're not as blue, the water's not as white, but there's a lot more to be said. You can wade out much further. You can't really do that in Florida beaches. You can build sandcastles, which you can't do in Florida beaches. There's a lot to say about like Texas beaches. They don't leave me lacking anything. What I miss are like the Grand Rocky Mountains. I've never been to Montana, so maybe that would be at the top of the list. But Colorado, it's beautiful, man.
Man, we did a hike in Colorado, and talk about feeling small in this world. And I grew up in a small town, not that I'm not used to that, but my girlfriend and I did a hike, and we just looked up some place, and we're like, yeah, this looks popular. Of course, we were in South Fork, so like not too far on the other side of the border, and we did this hike that ended up being 3 hours up and about 2:15 down, and we never saw another soul on the way up.
Isn't that cool?
And I'm just like a kid. It's funny. Like, we've got a guy, Caleb, from Colorado here. I asked him what he was scared of when he moved to Texas, and he said snakes. I thought I was going to see snakes all the time. He goes, I don't see them that often. And I go, I'm the same way about bears. I just expected to see like 3 or 4 bears on that way up.
Yeah.
And what was crazy about where we were hiking is I was a little bit more worried about mountain lions just because of the terrain. And so we make it all. We're like singing, like my girlfriend and I are literally for like 5.5 hours singing,
making lots of noise.
Yeah, lots of noise.
Did you wear the jingle bells on
no,
your legs?
I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't. I will say I was at least armed because we drove there. So I had my gun, so I felt a little bit better. Of course, I don't know how much a small handgun is going to do against a large bear. But we get up to the top, and it was like this platform at the top. It kind of plateaued up there, and we were just walking around. Of course, there's no one. And I was like, man, this is beautiful. We're kind of just walking around, taking it all in. She's on one side. It's probably like 300 yards, not that big. And she's walking around on the other side, and I'm walking around, and I look down, and there is a carcass of what I can't tell at this point, but it's still pretty fresh. And I think it was just a whitetail. It was smaller. It definitely wasn't like an elk or anything. Yeah,
those hikers.
That was one of the missing corpses for deer. It's probably 4 million, but it was just stripped, and it was still fairly fresh. It wasn't like it had been there for a while. And I just remember freezing for about 3 seconds and just being like, All right, let's get out of here. Like that was fun. That was fun to watch, but like something was gnawing on this within the last 48 hours.
That's freaky.
Feeling.
Yeah.
That's freaky. I've talked to friends who've spent a significant amount of time like in Alaska, and both of them, I mean, like pucker up, man. They've been charged by grizzly bears, uneaten. And so like grizzly bears have a habit of they charge to establish their territory, and as long as you don't run, they stop.
Oh.
But you have to stand your ground and let them run at you full speed, and then they get about 10 feet away and they come to a stop.
What do they do whenever they smell your pants?
Yeah.
After you went to the bathroom. You just pooped yourself.
That's a good point. Well, one of them was like they were crossing, they stepped into a creek bed and literally saw a grizzly bear paw fill with water. Like that's how fresh it was. And they were like, uh-oh. And then, within 5 minutes they found the bear found them. Man. Which I'm the same way. I get scared when I go up in the mountains, but like we've had black bear encounters in Big Bend.
Right.
And they, you just kind of keep your distance and they don't bother you too much. And I'm eager to see a mountain lion up there. I don't know why. I desperately want to see a
How many
lion.
mountain lions do you think have seen you while you've been there?
Well, they always
They're
say
stealth.
like, by the time you see one, like 12 have seen you.
Yeah.
Wow.
But Big Bend is so vast. There's not that many up there.
Sure.
Like when you start to talk, it's not in the hundreds. It's in the dozens.
Yeah.
In low dozens. And so your likelihood that you're going to see one so low. That's why I'm like, I want to see one. I want to see one.
Imagine being at a predator in Big Bend.
Dude,
like I bet they go over. I don't know how long mountain lions can go without eating, but I bet that they can go longer in Big Bend than in Colorado in the mountains in the forest.
They make they make their whole meals on the little snacks, little rats or something, squirrels. I don't know. Yeah. That's cool. But like, Colorado, your point, like I think there are like Colorado's probably is a lot more crowded than it used to be. I mean, it definitely is. But if you want to get away from people, that's how you do it. The general public is only willing to do so much adventure. And if you're willing to do just a little bit more than them, you'll go to places and you won't see a soul. It's the same way in West Texas.
Yeah.
Same way out there.
Yeah, I went on a road trip after college with a couple of buddies up through the Northwest, and one of our first stops was in Colorado. We went to I can't remember the name of the national park, trying to find areas that you could camp, because we were literally just in my buddy's 4Runner, and we're just trying to find places, just like a bunch of dumb kids. We're like, we'll just be able to go find a forest and just like go set up a tent. But it's like a little bit harder than you'd think to do that nowadays. But I remember driving like out into the forest and like just seeing RV, and we're like, we're an hour and a half outside of the nearest town, and there's still people camping. There's a lot of people out there. So eventually, like you said, we finally were able to just keep driving until we didn't see anybody, because I was like, I don't want to camp and hear the guy snoring next to me.
Sure.
And pay $25 to be like allotted like a little 10x10 space. Like we wanted to go out.
I get it. There's a certain the RV culture that they're happy kind of being boxed in, like in these really cramped RV parks. I don't get that. If I'm going to get an RV, it's so that I can like exist on the frontier by myself.
Yeah.
Like,
They're basically just tailgating. They're
yeah,
just like a bunch of guys in a parking lot.
Yeah. Hey, I made some ribs. Cool.
Yeah.
come on over. I'm bringing the potato salad.
And
like,
they
Which
have
is
like
fun, but it's
Yeah,
like not
right.
camping.
and do you really RV if your spare tire on the back doesn't have like a personalized RV cover for it that like says your last name? They always have the last name on it. My parents have a camper and they don't do a lot with it. They use it for much more practical things than like what I see a lot of people with RVs do. But their camper has the little thing. It's not personalized, but it's this cutesy little thing. And
Is it a howling wolf at the moon?
No,
with like
no,
Yellowstone.
Yeah.
behind it?
Those people, they get the combo. They get the tire cover, and then they also get the T-shirt, because they have the Howling Moon T-shirt. It's like they want to match their spare wheel tire.
We were in Beaumont, Texas. I should have bought every one. I don't know why I didn't. There it was the sale rack at the truck stop, and it was all like
great spot.
Grizzly bears catching salmon.
Yes.
Beaumont, Texas.
In Beaumont, Texas.
Someone had gotten a deal to put the name of the city on whatever shirts are there.
Yeah.
So, howling wolves on top of the mountains, Beaumont, Texas.
It's like
I should have bought all of them. I
there's
didn't buy
probably
one.
thousands of different towns across the country that have that in their exact truck stop.
Yep.
That shirt with just the different town name.
Yeah.
It's just someone did not know where Beaumont was. And so, sure, why not?
Do you have any like tradition of things that you collect when you go to a town?
Oh, good
Of, like, a
question.
keychain
Oh,
or
dude.
anything?
I'm going to be a hoarder when I'm old, man. Like, for real. Because I just pick up random souvenirs. Like, just, I don't know. Like, just junk that for some reason kind of calls to me. And I've gotten good at realizing when I'm going to regret something and when I won't.
Yeah.
So I've started to be like, I'll buy it, you know, because I've got this office now in downtown Georgetown that we're just that's full of my crap. And so like old taxidermy. I love old taxidermy.
Nice.
But it needs to be kind of like half falling apart.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the owl's one eye is kind of falling out. And, you know, it'll be on sale at this little junk store in Brady, Texas for $30, you know, $800 slashed, $700 slashed. By the time it gets down to $30 and they're putting extra tags on it, that's when I swoop in and buy it.
98% off.
Yeah. So I've got this fox that's about 120 years old, and his guts are falling out. he looks so decrepit and bad. I mean, it was before we really had, you didn't have commercial forms to pull the deer over. I got this one bobcat that's jumping with this wild look in his eye. He's not actually catching anything, but I like old taxidermy. I that's just my thing now.
Does anything stand out as like one of your most prized possessions that you've gotten as
Ooh, man.
like it could be a gift that you got on the road that has like a lot of history to it or anything?
I was in, this is just me, like just being strange. Like I was in El Paso and we were doing a thing and we had a little extra time. And then right next door to where we were eating was this antique coin shop. And I'm not into antique coins, but like there's a bunch of people who are. And I walk in and start looking and they've got old silver dollars. And I'm like, I don't collect old silver dollars, but there was one that was 1845, which is the year Texas joined the Union. And it was $50, silver dollar. I'm like, this is the first time you could use federal money in Texas. I'm buying it.
Yeah.
And so now I've got it. It's
That's
just sitting
cool.
there on my
That is
shelf.
cool.
Like every little thing has a story. We were just at in North Houston. There's the National Museum of Funeral History.
No way.
And you could, So it's a world-class museum, but it is full of old coffins and hearses and things from celebrities' funerals, like the wristband and program from Michael Jackson's funeral, the program from all these famous astronauts' funerals. And like, it's a bizarre kind of thing. All these coffins that were built but never used. Oh, a bunch of stuff from presidential funerals.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But it's actually really well done. Super creepy, but really well done.
Yeah. Any bodies?
Was
anyone buried there?
Yeah.
I was about to say that. What if no one was buried,
buried,
there?
yeah.
Like, someone's got to get buried
I don't
here.
think anybody's buried there, actually. But it's connected to, like, the National School of Morticians kind of thing.
God.
So it's, there's all the weirdest stuff in Texas.
Seems exciting.
So like the takeaway from them, I bought two things. I bought a coffee cup that says, any day above ground is a good day. So they
That's
don't
good.
take
I like that.
themselves that seriously.
I like that.
And then another one was a small urn that was branded on it, but it is the exact same quality as an urn that any of us could be
Oh, so it's
cremated
just
and buried
tiny?
in. Just tiny. It's like the weirdest souvenir ever. Like you would go to Six Flags and leave with your own small personalized urn.
Yeah.
But it's like heavy duty brass marble kind of in it. I'm like, this is the weirdest souvenir anyone could take home. I want it.
I want
you
it
know?
now.
So I've got a bunch of
Where are you gonna put it?
bunch
I don't
of random
know.
stuff like that.
It'd be funny is if like you killed like a mouse or something and you just shoved
I
it
could
in there.
cremate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be a
Yeah.
great photo. It'd be a great photo.
I'm sure like all of us in our younger days shot something and then
Yeah.
put it on the campfire.
Yep.
Yeah.
Should go back and reclaim those ashes.
There's something that's great about a male killing. Well, this is gonna sound bad, but like anyone that's listening that's a hunter will get it. There's something that is like very prideful about killing something and eating it yourself and using all the
100%.
meat. Yeah, it's literally it's at our core the most primal thing about us.
That's why, it's I didn't get to go opening weekend. We were at the SEMA show in Vegas, but I'm dying. I'm eating deer meat as fast as I possibly can at my house to
make room.
to make room for the next
Yeah.
deer.
To make room.
You know, so I agree, man. It's cool. And now this is younger days when you killed stuff and you're kind of like, oh, I'm not gonna eat this squirrel or this dove. You know, nowadays, of course, if I kill something, I'm gonna eat it. Like I kill for food. I'm gonna take the life of something.
Yeah.
I'm gonna honor it by eating it and having it feed my family. But there were some poor decisions made when I was younger.
This is actually kind of funny. My little brother, who I've always been like the creative, and I definitely wasn't like inside playing video games, but he was the kid that from like 7 years old in the summer when we were out of school for the summer and our parents were at work, he would literally go out with his BB gun and be gone from like 6 a.m. until like 5 p.m. And my dad is a former DPS officer, and so my dad used to, when we were younger, he'd work some of the like not as good shifts. So he'd get home, 6 a.m. or whatever time. And he said that sometimes he would literally trip on the front porch over like one raccoon, 2 swallows, like a squirrel. He would just kill random animals and put them on because he was young and this sounds like psychotic. He wanted to make my dad proud because my dad's a hunter.
Yeah.
So he's like, Dad, look what I did. And my dad was like, okay, you can't just be killing things.
Yeah.
Then he taught him how to shoot a pellet gun, but then he had to have the conversation of like, you can't just take the life of something if you're not going to use it.
Anything that moves.
Yeah.
And then Curry like said something about, well, why don't I throw it into the woods and then coyotes will take it? And he was like, yes, but like you need, if you're going to shoot something
as a concession, sure.
Yeah, like let coyotes hunt for themselves. That's what they're here for. What's the most quintessential? There's a lot of them. What's the most quintessential like staple Texas brand out there?
Ooh, man.
Like you think Texas, you think this.
Like, goodness, man. Whataburger, Wolf brand chili.
Okay, Wolf.
Yeah, we were just in Corsicana where Wolf brand chili was invented.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know they were Texas.
Yeah. Man, like Shiner beer.
Shiner.
Trying to think of like the big dog ones. There's a lot of stuff that you feel like should be Texan, and then you look back, you're like, dang.
Yeah.
DQ.
Yeah.
Not Texan.
Right. Where is that out of?
Iowa or something like that.
Yeah.
Like,
Wow.
Well,
Dairy
there's also,
Queen? How did we lose Dairy Queen?
There's also a lot of things where you feel like it's bigger than what it really is. Like Bluebell, as a kid, I didn't know another ice cream company.
Oh, yeah,
and then you
Bluebell's
get
on that
older and you're
list.
like, wait, it's not. Oh, it's just here. Like it's not
For
even.
sure.
It's not even in other states.
Yeah.
What? Big
Yeah.
Red? Y'all don't have Big Red up north?
Oh man, Big Red! You make me want a Big Red float.
Oh, those
You
are
ever
so
make?
beat
Did
it.
y'all make Big Red ice cream growing up?
All the
Oh
time.
man,
So
that's
all the
so
time.
good, so good.
Did you make that?
No, I'm very sad.
Parker,
And I won't.
come on,
We
man.
need that.
Oh.
It's like the easiest, right? It's like a 2-liter Big Red
Yeah.
and some sweetened condensed milk, and then you just let it go.
Yep. And y'all had, man, my grandma used to have one of those, or I think she still does, and it sat in the washroom just.
Oh, yeah.
With some ice, you'd have to fill up with some ice every
Yeah,
once
and some
in a
rock
while.
salt.
Yep, and some rock salt.
Uh-huh.
Golly, this is better than.
Do you ever make like coffee can ice cream?
No.
Where you had to sit on the porch and roll it back and forth to your brother or sister for like 3 hours.
No.
Oh, it's terrible.
God.
Oh man, yeah, that was like the way they made us do it when we were little, just so that we appreciated
Yeah,
what it
yeah.
is. No, you'd get a smaller container, then you'd fill it. When coffee cans were metal, so you get like your Folgers coffee can, then you'd get a smaller container where you put all your ice cream ingredients. Then you put that in the bigger Folgers can, cover ice and rock salt around it. And then you literally just sit on the front porch,
Ouch.
rolling it back and forth to each other.
Wow.
You do it for 15 minutes, like, let's check it. Like, crap, it's still liquid. Another, like, 30 minutes, like, I got to check it. It's got to be done. Surely, not even close. So
Kids nowadays are just on TikTok.
I know. These kids these days.
Back in my day, we had to roll
that could
our
be-
own ice
You're
cream.
sounding very old man
I
yelling
am,
at clouds
dude,
right
that
now.
I mean, we grew up, like, I was born in Comanche, Texas, so from 1 to 7, it was country living, raising goats, living in
Yeah.
and then we moved to Southeast Texas, Port Arthur, Port Neches area, and that was alligators and crawfish and Cajun, 2 very different parts of Texas. But all
I used
Texan.
to, man. I used to work in Comanche. Whenever I was in high school, we grew up in Clifton,
Okay,
so
yeah,
not
yeah.
too far. And one
Yeah,
of our the guy I mowed, worked for a landscaping
There you
company.
go. Yeah.
And he had a bunch of jobs over there in like Blanket and
Blanket,
yeah,
Texas.
it's like no one would ever no one listened. Yeah,
Yeah.
no one listening to this podcast has ever heard of that place. There's no way. But yeah, we used to work out there. I saw that you were from Comanche. That's wild. A small world.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Yo, yeah, we need to start the TikTok trend again of making your own ice cream. Y'all,
That's a good idea.
that could be a thing.
Yeah. Why don't we
know,
just
like-
combine it and just literally this is how you I mean that's the stuff that goes viral on TikTok.
How to make
sometimes.
your own ice cream. It's not that hard.
Nope.
No.
Well.
You just roll a can back.
You
and
got to
forth.
have an hour to do nothing.
Are
but
your
roll-
kids on
roll a
TikTok?
can. No, man.
Are you
I've
just like
just got a 13-year-old.
Okay.
And we got him a phone for his 13th birthday.
Big day.
But he can do nothing but call and text.
There you
That
go.
sucker is locked down. He has to ask me to go to, he has to request any websites he wants to visit. And then I can either approve or deny it. So I approve ESPN.com, things like that because he's a big sports guy.
Yeah.
But other stuff, no, man, phones scare me. I know how much consequences they've had for adults. To put those things in the hands of kids, it's a time bomb, man.
Yeah.
It really is.
It is. So, yeah, I'm barely on TikTok. And the times I get on there, I look at it, boo, what? Like, that should not be on the internet, and shut it down. I'm like, to give a kid the unfettered access to that, man. I know my tendencies when I was a young chap.
Yeah.
It would have been nothing but trouble, man.
Yeah.
Trouble.
Yeah, the TikTok algorithm is so great that early on I heard that it was amazing. So anything that I hated, I would like click the dislike button or whatever, and then anything that I really liked, I would like it. And now my algorithm is so grilled down. Like it's just sports, cooking, like all the things that I care about, and none of the stuff that I don't care about.
See,
So-
maybe that was it. Like I just hadn't taught the algorithm what I like.
Yeah, that's what
Stuff
it
like
is.
that. Yeah. Okay, so now I have more time on TikTok.
Yep.
My to-do list today.
Yeah, don't like anything that you're not going to want to see more of.
Yeah.
You got to be careful
Or
with that.
or
no
if you
kidding.
can like honestly, this is what happens too. Don't watch too much of it. If you can tell it's a train wreck, but you want to keep watching it because it is a train wreck,
yeah.
don't keep watching it. Just scroll as much as you want because they watch that and they're like, this guy watched this 1.5 times through.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
he
he
definitely
loves
loves
this
this.
stuff.
Yeah.
That's the like Instagram. I'm on Instagram most. The algorithm on Instagram. For some reason, I guess I liked a photo of an ocean creature. So for the next 3 months, I was getting nothing but ocean creatures.
Yeah.
Whales and jellyfish. Like what?
Wow.
I think I'm Jacques Cousteau over here. Like, what did I do? But then I was probably watching them, and it knows where your eyes are. So it's like, more of this, more of this.
Yeah.
So there was like 3 months where I was like, Instagram is a lot of ocean creatures.
Yeah.
That's all. That's all anyone's posting these days. It's like
No, that's for you. That's the
that's
for you page.
That's my Chetstagram. Man, it's a mess.
So gonna wrap it up here in a minute, but one question I do have is Mount Rushmore of all-time Texans.
Ooh, man, that's good.
You can put 4 on there. Who are you putting on there?
Four.
Yeah.
'cause
I'm not
that's
gonna
it.
make you do one Texan.
The extra spot. Dude. Like I think, this is gonna be workshopping out loud. I think
Yeah.
Willie Nelson has to be on there,
I think so too.
but George Strait probably needs to be on there. And we're not putting 2 country music singers on
That's
there.
true.
You can't,
That's true.
You can't really do that. But it's one or the other of that. But then
I think that Willie means more to Austin than George means to a certain, like, Willie is tied to Austin.
Sure.
George is tied to a state. So I think that George has to trump Willie and all the number ones, of course, and he's the king. But I don't think that people outside of this area of the state or even in the state realize what Willie Nelson is to Austin, if that makes sense. Like, he is integrated with
Okay.
Austin.
See, and I live inside the fishbowl, so I don't know any different.
Yeah.
Right? Like, do people in Colorado love Willie as
Right.
much as we do?
I remember thinking that one time. I was like, do people realize who Willie is outside of Texas? They do, but yeah, it's
They don't
nothing like here.
Love him quite like we do. Oh man. Gosh. Thinking of old school places who or people who have forged the path for everybody else. You want to put Texan heroes on there, but they maybe or maybe not. Is this for us, or is it to say who we are to the rest of the world? Like, can I put Davy Crockett on there, or Sam Houston on
and
there?
that's a popular one, but it's also like, I think about this sometimes. I'm like, we're
These are the things that
stories
keep us up late at night.
Stories get embellished as time goes on. I'm not saying that Davy Crockett didn't by himself do a lot of great things for the state and carve what it looks like now. However, I think that we like to remember people better after they pass.
Oh, yeah,
especially when it's like that was
dies in
150
heroic
years ago.
victory.
Yeah.
But like you realize this about Davy Crockett, right? He's this quintessential Texan. He was only in the state for like a week, 2 weeks.
It's like a cup of coffee
He
and
went
he
to
left.
the Alamo and died. And so it's like he just kind of hiked through.
Yeah.
There's a whole town in East Texas called Crockett, and it's named that because he stopped and took a drink at the spring on his way to the Alamo.
He had to take a pee in the river, and he just
That's kind of true. Oh man, gosh, yeah. Like, can we put Neil Armstrong on there?
Yeah.
Like, well, he wasn't born in Texas though, was he? But he's like from, was he? We need some fact check on that. I should know where Neil Armstrong was born. I should know where he was born. Gosh, like we've got presidents, LBJ, Eisenhower was a Texan. Led us to victory in England in World War II. Like, commander of the armed forces. That's a pretty big deal.
Yep.
Like he literally saved the world.
Yeah.
Both of the guys, Eisenhower, who was in charge of the European theater, Nimitz, who was in charge of the Pacific theater, both Texans. Texans won World War II.
Wow.
Of course.
Yeah, of course. That's what we love.
That's how we like to say it.
Where does Cardi B rank on this list?
Oh yeah, she's on the toilet dispenser at the gift shop. Like the paper towel. Is she a Texan?
Oh, you know what I'm thinking?
I'm not thinking of Beyonce.
I'm thinking, oh crap. I'm thinking
Cardi B was Houston.
I thought she was.
No. I think she is. She's the
York.
the Bronx.
I've never
No,
seen Cardi
golly,
on
I'm so embarrassed.
that
I was
list.
thinking of Lizzo.
Oh, Lizzo.
She's definitely Houston.
Yeah, Lizzo's definitely Houston. But, I think that Beyonce is like the Diana Ross of our generation,
For
right?
sure.
Like,
For sure.
B could probably be on there.
I
Queen
think
B?
so.
But then you're going music heavy, right?
True. But you also have to think about, obviously, we're in the space of like country music. I don't listen to a ton of stuff outside besides maybe a few genres. But, I mean, Beyonce is bigger than anyone else from Texas on a worldwide scale.
Yes.
Of course.
Yeah, 100% agree.
Can't argue it.
So does she displace George and Willie?
You said it, not me. I don't want our listeners getting mad at me.
I'm only asking. This is a great question for the comments of this podcast.
Yeah.
So Beyonce is definitely somewhere in the running of it. You've also got like, could we put Earl Campbell on it?
I thought you were going to say Earl Dibbles, but yeah.
Earl Dibbles Jr. Senior. Can we put the senior on there?
Yeah, Earl Campbell. I mean,
Yeah.
Is there a senior?
No, there's not a senior.
Okay.
Well,
he makes it.
Well,
There's whatever you want there to be.
yeah. Actually, maybe we should cut that. I don't know what there is. I'm not the person that would say that information. So
we have to. There needs to be a deeper genealogical dive.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's got to be. There has to be backstory to that guy.
Earl's family tree.
Yeah.
Has there?
Unless he's kept it pretty, close to the vest because he doesn't want to embarrass his high society New York family or something like that.
That's what it is.
He could have all kinds of stuff.
Or
maybe it was
have a son.
two coyotes mated in the woods and Earl Dribbles Jr. came out.
Who's literally, what is this, a Jungle Book or
Tarzan.
Yeah.
Like Tarzan, exactly.
Tarzan.
Exactly. So, oh man. So we could put Earl Campbell won the Heisman, went on to become one of the greatest NFL stars of all time. He could debatably be up there to represent our sports community.
Yeah.
God.
So could Johnny Manziel.
Yeah. That's true. The golden child of Kerrville.
Yeah,
Old Johnny M. Oh man. That's it. Did I come up with enough of them now?
No, that's good. That's good. I want if you're listening at home, I want you to, and you're from Texas. Let us know who you would put on your Mount Rushmore of Texans.
And then I think I'm going to go ahead and say Sam Houston has to be there because he is Texan to the core, but he was also he was governor. I think he's the only person in history to have been the governor of 2 states.
Yeah.
And the president of a nation.
Yeah.
And a senator. And so was the general that started Texas.
Yeah.
So he's definitely on there.
Yeah.
Right next to
I think
Beyonce.
so.
I want to see this thing. That's awesome.
All right, man. This has been super fun. Thank you so much for coming out.
Yeah. Hey, thank y'all for having me. For real. I've been big fans of Yee Yee just from the sidelines.
Yeah.
So to get a DM from y'all is pretty cool. Happy to come and be on the podcast.
Well,
man.
you think it's like someone cool, and it's just a guy that just makes memes
hey,
for you.
dude, no, hey, that's pretty amazing. I mean, in today's world, that's a noble profession right there.
There you go.
A noble profession. No, like for real, I don't know if we talked at all about what you were wanting to, but I'll come back, man. We can finish the rest of the questions.
It's funny if you look at like my notes, and in a perfect line, we did like this.
All right,
and then we went way out of the way for. What was it, the ghost talk? But yeah, it was great. We'll if you're right in our backyard, we're gonna have to do this again.
Yeah, I got one more for you. What's a day trip you recommend from Central Texas? I'm
Ooh,
sure you
man,
get that a lot.
Yeah. Well, so that's a common question, but I always have to turn it back. Like, what do you like to do? So, like, are you an
outdoors.
eater? Outdoor stuff. You've hiked Enchanted Rock?
Yes.
Okay, that's always. I'm always amazed at the number of people who have not hiked to the top of Enchanted Rock.
Yeah.
I absolutely love Enchanted Rock. It's an hour and a half from where we're sitting.
And you can do Fredericksburg after. You go out there for sunrise, do Enchanted Rock, and then go back into town, go to a winery. It's the best day ever you can do.
And if you want the more chill version, you come through Llano and do it that way.
Yeah.
Eat some Cooper's barbecue and
Yeah.
put your feet in the river, that kind of thing. So I love Enchanted Rock's absolutely at the top of my list. Or, like it's not necessarily season for jumping in Texas rivers, but man, you can get to the Guadalupe. There's 100 places to put your feet in the Guadalupe.
Yeah.
Bernie, Texas. I love Bernie.
Bernie's awesome.
It's a cool town. Uvalde.
Uvalde.
Right. You know
a
it
bit
well.
far, but Uvalde.
Well, one last question. Sorry, we keep saying one last question. Have you ever been to Seymour?
Seymour Butts?
Golly!
I thought that was a joke setup, but there is a Seymour, Texas.
No, I know. That was the joke. We're like 0-2 now. I keep thinking I'm going to get someone on
Seymour.
this.
You got to set up, like, have you ever been to Seymour? Seymour where? Where's Seymour?
Yeah, but then you would be like, why are you randomly...
Yeah.
You would be like, why are you randomly asking about where is Seymour? Oh, man. Where can people find you? On social media, and when does the Day Tripper come out?
Okay, so we got new episodes that are just on our website, hit our website. So... we got some. If they like ghost stories, we have a haunted Texas road trip where we talk about a bunch of other ghost story stuff. Website thedaytripper.com. Instagram is at Chet Tripper, 2 T's, Chet Tripper, and then YouTube is The Day Tripper TV.
Cool.
So if they've never seen our show, our YouTube channel's got clips. It doesn't have full 30-minute shows, but it's got little clips of all kinds of things. Barbecue spots, museum spots. The Museum of Funeral History's on there.
I don't even want to watch the video. I just want to go to that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, man.
This was absolutely awesome, guys.
Awesome. We'll see y'all next week. Thanks for listening. Eat your veggies.
Bye con Dios.